So you're recording.
You are constrained in your delivery?
Sure. You've never heard me use any nasty four-letter words.
Just like Amazon. You're constrained in your delivery.
They use nasty words.
Man, it's that time again, Roger. You know what we got to do. We are laying down tracks. That, of course, is Roger Dykes Just Sayin. Did I show
I
up?
thought you were talking about somebody else.
Did I show up at a bad time, Roger?
I know. I'm glad to see you. Well, I can't see you, but if I could see you, I'd be glad to see you.
You know, that must be hard for you, knowing that I don't have a camera on this end.
And I'm not used to it.
If you looked at the same mug that I do every morning when I comb my hair, you'd go, we can put off getting that camera. Well, you look good, Roger. I've got
thank you.
My color adjusted on you for the podcast, even though we're an audio podcast.
Someday we'll do video.
Yeah, sure.
After all, we could put it up on my new channel.
Your new oh, that's right. And we need to talk about that this time.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it when we come back.
Okay.
It's that time, folks. Hello, I'm Michael Shawn, and welcome to Roger Dykes Just Sayin. Roger Dykes is a teacher and counselor with a master's degree in family counseling from Texas Tech University. He is the owner of UV Blake Records and has written a book titled Non-Persons Rolling in a Normal World. And there's a few more things. Roger was born with cerebral palsy. Now a quadriplegic, he has been confined most of his life to a wheelchair. And for a while, even enjoying a career as a stand-up or sit-down comedian and after-dinner speaker. Disabled? Yes, but you forget about that pretty quickly because Roger thrives. So here is Roger Dykes. Roger, that's a great opening to your show, if I do say so myself, that we just listened to. But
okay,
there's one glaring thing that is not mentioned in that.
What is that?
It's the relatively new occurrence of your own Roger Dykes YouTube channel.
Right. That's why I brought it up.
I didn't always. You were doing this audio podcast here for a while, and sure enough, it's been brought up to why can't we see Roger on YouTube?
So they say.
And a lot of people don't know that there is actual individual artwork for each one of your shows. It's becoming real popular among people that get to see it.
You know, the production company I work with,
Roger,
they provide that.
It sometimes is possible to find good help. Now, I'd just like to point that out right here.
Well, and I certainly have found it with my production company. Do you mean A-Team PR?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the name of it, of course.
That's what we meant.
They're based out of the West Texas area here.
Okay, so the big news is, and so that everyone will understand this, so you're not looking for any more or less if you go there, but we have taken the entire library of Roger Dykes Just Sayin, and we have built a YouTube channel out of it. And that always presents the artwork for each program, except for the first 2 or 3 programs we weren't doing the artwork yet. But other than that, on all the others, there's individual artwork. And it's fun to see because it will always relate to something that we talk about in that podcast. And there's a picture of you, Roger, and you have your hair combed, unlike what you do on these Saturday mornings when we
so I've been told.
Record this podcast. It doesn't look like you've been up very long. Would it be fair to say you get up with the chickens? You're not an outdoorsy fella too much.
I'm up and I wake up to chickens.
You enjoy the confines
What?
of your townhouse.
Right. My house isn't. My house, yes, is in town. You're right.
There you go, Roger. Now you're up with the program. That's great.
So to that extent, it is a townhouse as opposed to a country house.
Do you have a lot of pets, Roger? Like, what do you got? Cats, dogs, hamsters, gerbils? What do you got?
I have no pets at all. I've been offered pets in the past, or the idea of, Roger, you need a dog or a cat or whatever. And my response to that has always been, no, I don't, because our pet requires the same amount of treatment and care as I do. And we're having a hard enough time finding caregivers that want to put up with me. Let's not add a dog, cat, or gerbil in there.
Okay. We do have a link that is cutting out a little bit on us. I'll try to fix most of that in editing. But if you're hearing that, what I'm hearing, then
I am hearing what you're hearing, because you're cutting out as well.
There's delays in the system. I tell you what, let's do.
Okay.
We're going to break for what will only be like a second in the podcast, but what we're actually going to do is shut down, disconnect, and come back in. All right?
Okay.
Stand by.
I can't.
It's going to work like we thought, Roger.
I wish they could hear all this technical jargon.
And we're back. Just that quick.
All right.
Are we good or what?
We are excellent.
And you're not cutting out. So we've stepped up in the Zoom food chain here. Well, we've never had this problem before. I'm pretty sure it's Kathy's fault. A lot of people, they are just naturally assume that this operation is very much like NBC, CBS, ABC, and Fox News Network, all of the big, really powerful, electronically well-built organizations. They kind of assume that you and I are like that.
Boy, are they mistaken.
Roger, how did the last 3 weeks go for you?
It had its ups and downs.
You realize I'm talking about your day-to-day life with your caregivers and all that sort of thing.
And I'm answering your question. It had its ups and downs. Well, I mean, it's just a standard stuff in the sense of we're dealing with, when you deal with caregivers and you deal with the government and you deal with agencies and all these things. I'm in the process. We've just switched over from the company I was with to a new company that is hopefully much more efficient than the one I was with. But the switch over, as is true of any business or organization, when you begin changing distributors, you begin changing the way you do things. There's always glitches and there's always misunderstandings and things like that. And we're still dealing with some of those. So that has been an unpleasant part of the experience.
Roger, hold on just a second. Let's talk about some of the good things, because you mentioned something before we went on. You have a new caregiver that has come to work at your place.
Right. We've had a new person come in on weekends, and the weekends have been a problem because it's hard to find people who want to work first of all, who want to work on the weekends, and secondly, who are able to work just the weekends because all the other slots are covered.
Now, Roger, you told me that this was a person that was a young girl compared to a lot of the rest of your help that you've been able to provide work for.
No, I haven't. And
I mean, she's not in a grass skirt or anything, is she?
I haven't noticed it.
You would have noticed that, Roger. I've been around you long enough to know you'd have picked right up on that. We're talking about all the important stuff on this podcast. We've talked about your new YouTube channel, which is the Roger Dykes channel. And we're talking about your book that has been redone and is out there now on audiobooks. And that, of course, is non-persons rolling in a normal world.
Or something like that.
Everybody knows the name of that. Yeah.
But if you want to find it, all you got to do is Google my name in Amazon.
That's right. And
it comes up.
I think, did I hear you on Kimball now as well? But anyway, just ROGERDYKES. So the book is out there. And what I think is really interesting about the book, it initially, on the first edit, it was written back in the 70s. And Roger had a little more hair then. He was involved in the entertainment industry. He had a solid gold wheelchair, or at least it appeared to be, after dinner speaker and all kinds of stuff. And but the book is a point of view of a much younger Roger Dykes. And it talks about growing up and dating and relationships that he had when he was in school and so on and so forth. And so it is a fun read or a fun listen. And it's not real time consuming. It's not really long, but it is definitely from the heart of Roger Dykes. So I would recommend that anybody, particularly if you work with or involved with or have family that is disabled.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was designed as a self-help book to a degree. Because we were working with, at the time, we were working with school districts and because back at the time the book was written, they had just started mainstreaming handicapped children into the regular classrooms. And as a result, the teachers were not particularly prepared for that event because they had not been in college. They did not study special ed. They were just regular teachers because at the time it was totally separated. So if you wanted to deal with the disabled children, you went into special ed. If you wanted to deal with the walking normal children, you went into regular education. Well, then when they began to mainstream the disabled children into the school classrooms, regular classrooms, those teachers were a little bit taken back because they didn't exactly know what to do, how to relate to them.
Oh, yeah.
So as a result, we got a number of phone calls throughout the state of Texas and made numerous appearances at different conferences where we helped to enlighten them in the best way to deal with this new situation.
You know, Roger, that's something that's still vital today. I wonder if it wouldn't be good for you to get back out on the road. A lot of water has gone under the bridge, and there is all these people now that are specially trained and working in the public school systems and to work with specially disabled or handicapped individuals of one type or another. You know, every few years, there's new people in the system, and they need to hear why they're doing what they're doing and why all the decisions that have been made, and help kind of bring them up to speed. Is that a good thing to suggest?
Well, I think it would be a very good thing. I think it would be helpful. I'm not been on the other side of this situation of being a teacher facing this issue, but to me, and they may be doing more of it in college now, you may now be getting better training there than was going on back when we did the book and did all these appearances. But I doubt that it equals the idea of having a handicapped person explaining the situation to them from the viewpoint of the handicapped person. One thing that they did, we mentioned to them, because people don't know what to do with disabled people they're not sure of the involvement of their disability. And I had an opportunity. I was in the airport in Dallas, and as I was sitting there waiting for the flight to come in, there was a young boy, who started walking across the room, and I told my manager who was with me, I said, that young man has cerebral palsy, because I know the signs and symptoms of it. And so they were, of course, they didn't know me or anything like that, what I was there for. But anyway, they started getting close to us, and I started talking to the young boy. And as I was talking to him, his mother was there with him, and I said, well, how are you today? And she said, he's doing good. And I said, well, that's great. And I asked a couple more questions. He was there to pick up his grandmother, as I recall, and I'd ask him what he was doing. And she said, oh, by the way, Jimmy can't talk. And I said, oh, that doesn't matter. And now the key here was I never took my eyes off Jimmy. Now, that's hard to do because
when somebody else is giving all their answers.
Because you normally look at the person who's talking. But Jimmy's eyes began to sparkle because for the first time probably in his life, a total stranger who he didn't know was actually communicating with him and not talking to his mother.
Oh, Roger, that's
this
cool.
This was one of the things that we tried to stress in our presentations, was that while the person may not be able to respond verbally or whatever, but it's very rare. I'm not going to say it's never happened, but it would be very rare for a person with cerebral palsy or any other disability that would affect their speech, that they would be out on their own without someone with them who can communicate. Right. So the key is to communicate with the individual as though they are talking to you, and do not overlook them to talk to the person behind them or to the side of them who's answering your questions.
You know, that's great wisdom, Roger. That's a great story. I'm glad you shared it with us. We are just literally out of time already on this podcast. Boy, it just flies by. But that's
only
great.
When we're having fun.
That's a great story, and we thank you for that. Are you planning on being here next time in 3 weeks?
I'll have to check my calendar.
You need to start right now figuring out how to fit us in, because we definitely want to talk to you again.
Okay, well, I'll see what I can do.
Name of the show is just Roger Dykes Just Sayin. Roger, thanks a million. See you next time.
All right, thanks for coming by.
You've been listening to Roger Dykes Just Sayin. If you'd like to get a message to Roger, his Facebook account is listed as Roger Dykes. Become a friend, or you can send your questions and comments to rogerdykes51@gmail.com. That's ROGERDYKES51@gmail.com. Our podcast reveals a new episode every 3 weeks. Rollout is on Wednesday evening, shortly after dark, Texas time. Join us next time for our next episode of Roger Dykes Just Sayin. I'm Michael Shawn. On behalf of Roger Dykes, thanks for listening.